And now for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
And welcome to episode number 379 of This Old Marketing for Friday, June 9th, 2023. And with me, as always, as he always is, my friend, my colleague, and a guy who, well, let's just say he definitely didn't sell his soul to the Saudis for a bucket of golf balls, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
Ooh, that's
snarky? A
little
snarky?
Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
We're
by
going to
the
talk
way,
a little bit about that.
we will. We're going to talk about this. And by the way, we've not even mentioned it, but we're like on video for this. Like we're actually recording this, and I'm going to switch.
Yeah.
Watch this view. I can switch all these views. Boop. See, I can do that.
Ooh, you're
I know.
fancy now. You're fancy.
The people listening are like, we don't care.
Yeah.
We can't see you.
Yeah.
What's it? Okay, here I have a quick. We're going to talk about the whole live thing.
Sure.
I'm glad you put it as part of the show flow. What's the biggest difference for you moving from an audio only podcast to a video and audio podcast? Besides the fact that you have to like look at the screen now.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is, I actually don't look at the screen. I actually, weirdly, I do keep the video off in a corner, so that I can actually see you if you like hold up your hand or something. But I actually look at the camera. And my camera is a little off center from the screen. So I think that reads better on the video. So that's a little bit different, that I actually have to focus my eyes now. Whereas normally I could go to sleep during the show when you're talking.
I know.
As
many people know, I was a big multitasker while you would do your rants or your raves, and they could hear that's the biggest comment. Like, Joe, we can hear your keyboard. I said, yeah, I know, but it's only during when Robert talks. Right. So I did the clickety clack. The keyboard.
Right. Exactly. And I'm a little more conscious now when I'm reading versus, when I'm reading the lead into the stories and all that sort of thing. And I'm conscious of the, the newbie nature of this whole thing. And so trying to make it entertaining, trying to make it visually interesting is a new thing. It's fun. I have to say that part is really enjoyable, trying to make this, we've said before on this show, it's just two chuckleheads talking. So, but trying to make it visually interesting is now, an added complexity to chuckleheadedness.
I don't know if it's any more interesting. I wonder, actually, what I'm really curious about is, do people notice a difference in the audio version? Like, is it any different at all? Is it the same show that we can just now see each other? Or I'm actually curious. The biggest issue for me today is I had to figure out, well, what shirt and hat am I going to wear today? Because normally it doesn't matter, right? I'm in whatever. You roll right out of bed. You do this very early your time. You're very nice.
That's correct.
About it.
Yeah.
But you always look the same. I don't know how you do it. I have to put some thinking in. I got my Savannah Bananas hat on today.
Oh, there's some thought. This whole thing doesn't just come. It takes a hot minute. I've got a whole team of makeup and hair people that that put all this together. No, I have nothing. I get up.
I
have
some
coffee.
I need some of that. I need some of the cream. I need the baggy eyes thing. Yeah. Because for some reason I woke up. It has nothing to do with the fact that I was out last night. I got these little things under my eyes.
We should make it clear that you're not being paid by the Savannah Bananas with that hat on. It's just no,
but this is a solid hat. I look.
It is a solid hat. No, it's a solid hat, and I'm sure that came as there's a story behind that hat. I'm sure from.
I was a fan, obviously a fan of Jesse Cole. I love. This is so people can't see it, but it's a trucker hat, and I love trucker hats with the mesh in the back. I have a lot of them. I have a big problem. I see hats everywhere and I want to get them. There's a rule, and I don't know if you know about the hat rule in the Pulizzi house. Maybe you heard about this.
Yeah, I have a similar one in my house. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm at the hat limit. I don't know how many, let's say 25. I have that many hats like in circulation right now. And if I want another hat, I have to drop a hat. So it's a very different. So when I go out and I see a hat that I want, I also have to think about the fact I'm going to be losing a loved one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
and let me ask you a question. Do
Yeah.
you, because I have probably, I don't know, I don't have 25, but I might have 20. And I have probably 10 of them at actual circulation. And this gets to my question, which is, do you have a set of hats that you don't wear because you're like, I can't wear this because I don't want to sweat into the brim and I don't want to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have a couple
that are there that don't get worn.
I have a couple in the back that I really that look better on the shelf than on my head. Let's
Right.
put it that
Same
way.
here. Same here.
And
I've
you
got
know,
a
like
classic Dallas Cowboys hat that I have that looks awful. Like it's just horrible on my head. But I'm not getting rid of it because it's an amazing baseball cap.
Of course not.
Yeah.
And there's an issue. I'm a golfer, so I mean, I go out and golf in these hats, and I sweat. And when you do that over and over again, you know, you get the mark in the hat,
Sure.
and it's when that mark appears, it's devastating for me as a hat person.
It is.
So then there's a process.
They can be washed. They
can be washed, and I have a washing. I take them and I put the little whatever the cleaner is right where the mark is, and I put them in the dishwasher.
Yep.
And then we air dry them. There's the whole thing. So there's a hat etiquette that we do.
We should do a whole episode on hat maintenance.
I'm happy to do that. I've learned a lot over the years because especially with these kinds of, if you do it wrong, if you have a little bit too much detergent on it, or you keep it in the dishwasher a little too long, you will lose the hat.
You will lose.
And I have lost hats, and I can tell you that you don't remember the time because I think we were like within the days between shows, but I was devastated. It took me days to recover from the fact that I lost a couple really important hats to me. But I have to say this, once you put it into the dishwasher and you actually do the thing, it's never the same again. It's close. It's like the Matrix. It's like a hat.
That's
Matrix.
true.
It's like it's a thing. Yeah, it's like virtual reality hat. It's just not quite hat.
Yeah, they shrink. They absolutely shrink, and they change shape, and you can, people don't understand. I mean, people who wear a lot of hats, they understand, but people don't really understand that you put it in that first time you clean it, it's it's just as likely to come out ruined and clean, by the way, but ruined as it is to come out, the way it was. So,
So if anyone wants to get on my good side, you can send me a hat. And there are a couple sponsors that we've had over the years, working with CMI and Content Marketing World and whatever. They know, and they've sent some nice tchotchkes to me, including the hat. And there's been a couple that have actually gotten the trucker hat thing. So yeah,
I did that. I did that for TCA for my little consultancy when I made hats. I did, sorry, not for TCA, for Experience Advisors, for my little community. When I made hats, I did the Carhartt trucker hat because they're the best, right?
Yes,
they're the best.
You can't get better than the trucker hat.
And
so anyways,
and I get nothing from Carhartt, by the way, for saying that. I'm just telling you, the Carhartt trucker hats are amazing.
No, it's a quality hat. There's no doubt about it. So anyways, back to the Savannah Bananas hat. You asked me 6 minutes ago. Now I'm going to answer you. I love what the Savannah Bananas are doing. Everyone knows that I've raved about them on this program. Jesse Cole's Fans First Book is great. I wanted the hat, ordered the hat. It came very quickly, and it's packed personally by some Pulizzi's name. It had a little thing in there, and I got a sticker like right over my head right now. You can see the Savannah Banana sticker on the wall. I got that with it, and now I'm a lifer fan, and I take this out as many times as I can. To support that. So there's that. And then I'm going to golf later today in this hat. So I'm taking a risk.
Okay.
I'm taking a risk.
Right.
I'm going to go out. It's a beautiful day today. And
you are nothing but an innovator, my friend.
We're going to see
nothing but an innovator.
to see what happens. So anyways, we have a new YouTube channel.
Yeah,
we
do.
This Old Marketing. Very original.
Amazed that nobody had taken that. But
nobody, right? I thought for sure somebody would land grab that.
Wait a minute.
YouTube.
We don't have the URL, right? Because don't you have to have a certain number of subscribers before you get the privilege of personalizing the URL? Or did they change that?
I had to just verify. You have to verify that you're a human being. So they
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
let me upload anything longer than like 15 seconds until I went and I have a verified channel.
Right. Okay.
And I used your fake passport to get the verified channel.
Good.
And anyways, it's youtube.com/
I've heard of that.
at This Old Marketing or This Old Marketing.
Okay.
And we have it. And I think we have many more followers, subscribers on my channel. I used to distribute it. I'll still do actually through my channel. I've got a couple thousand or something like that. But those people don't know to move over. Maybe they will now. So if you're watching this on the old YouTube channel, I want you to go to This Old Marketing channel and then subscribe to that one and join the other 15 subscribers.
That's right. That's right.
No,
Where we'll still be organically buried below, 14 below Mr. Beast and the last Gary Vaynerchuk video and the last.
This is not. We're not hitting any records with this.
Yeah,
that's
right.
This is supposed to be a hard to find. Like we're purposely making this difficult to find because we feel if we do that, it's more valuable for the few of you that actually get to see our pretty faces.
We are the artisanal podcast. That is for sure.
It's like, oh no, please don't share it on social. Like we don't want more than a couple listeners on this.
We're the bougiest show out there, right? Just so bougie. It's like, no. We're out there. We're the band that you've never heard of, right? So.
It's too much pressure, right? We only want a handful of people that already accept our faults, which are plentiful. Exactly. But they know us and they love us and it's okay. So anyways,
that's exactly right.
youtube.com, This Old Marketing. And when we did the first show, this is our third one that we're doing. I said, don't say anything. Let's just go and see if anybody notices. You know what?
And
nobody noticed.
Did. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody.
Yeah.
It was nothing. It was not even crickets. It was crick. That was all we got.
Well, speaking of crickets, should we get to our show and talk about what we're going to talk about? Okay, let's fantastic. We do have a lot to talk about. It was a big, let's say it was a big This Old Marketing news week. Lots of things that we were tweeted at
we find
this week that we found interesting anyway. Yes, fascinating stuff. But we will start, of course, with how we open the show, and we'll talk a little bit about the PGA Tour and how is it live or LIV or I'm a little confused.
It's live. It rhymes with give.
Okay, live, so the PGA Tour and live, the Saudi Arabian back.
And do you know why it's live?
I don't.
Do you know why? It's because it's the Roman numerals for 54, and the Live Tour plays 54 holes versus the 72 holes of the PGA Tour.
Well, there you go.
54.
All right.
I you know how much research I had to do to find that little nugget.
I learned something that I absolutely did not need to know.
There you go.
So there you go.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
That's all right. We'll talk about the merger and what that might mean and why. And it is basically both a media story as well as a brand and marketing story. So it'll be an interesting one to talk about from that perspective. Then, of course, the big news this week coming out of Cupertino was the Apple Vision launch and their new Vision virtual reality, augmented reality, whatever you want to call it, headset. And we'll talk about that. And something that came up during the middle of that has now spread once again, the nonsense that Apple may purchase Disney.
Would you stop it? Don't cloud the judgment.
I'm just here.
Before we
I'm just asking questions, Joe. I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm doing.
You didn't just ask a question. That's not journalism. When you put your opinion into you're told you're not a journalist. Well, you're not a journalist.
I'm not. So there's definitely not a journalist. And then we will talk about the fact that Elon, yes, our friend Elon Musk, has tweeted out that X or Twitter or something or somewhere or somehow may now allow you to actually collect your subscribers and get their email addresses. And we'll talk about the reality and the nonsense of that. Then, if we've got time, we'll talk a little bit about Netflix and how they have now released their new gaming strategy and some initial titles that may be coming through and the content and how that may actually, be a little bit of great content marketing or something like that in there.
Possibly.
Then, of course, we'll get to our rants and raves and not, of course, miss our wonderful Q&A where we've got a wonderful question to talk about. But when we get to rants and raves, I'm going to talk a little bit about a recent Sam Altman interview where he talked about ChatGPT-5 and how they're not even thinking about doing anything with it. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And Joe, yes, I'm just asking questions. And of course, Tucker Carlson is just asking questions. And so Joe's going to talk about how much he loves Tucker's new show and on Twitter. And
gotta talk about my friend Tucker.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. Let's get into it. And let's talk about the PGA. So this comes courtesy of the New York Times.
Oh, by the way, I have to tell you before I put this article up, the New York Times blocked me because I'm not a subscriber. So you talk about the New York Times one, but I'm going to put up a very similar very similar Fox Business News.
We spare no expense here at This Old Marketing, ladies and gentlemen. We have a huge research and development budget. And so obviously can't even afford a subscription to the New York Times. And basically the headline here is that, as is on the screen, but also here at the New York Times, is PGA Tour and LIV. Now they've agreed to an alliance ending golf's bitter fight. The article opens up, as many of them do, and the ones certainly here do as well. The PGA Tour, the dominant force in men's professional golf for generations, and LIV Golf, which made its debut just last year and is backed by hundreds of millions of dollars in Saudi money, will together form an industry powerhouse that is expected to transform the sport, executives announced on Tuesday. Basically, the article goes on from here to talk about how really the once bitter enemies, and there was a situation where last year, and we even talked about it on this show, where the LIV Golf played at the Trump golf course and did all sorts of things, and everybody really was just up in arms about it. The PGA golfers were basically told by PGA that anybody who left PGA to go play for LIV would now get ostracized by the organization. And now it seems, I guess they've made a deal with the devil here. Not necessarily I'm not making a political statement. I'm just saying basically the two enemies came together and decided to form a deal that seems to be much more about money than it does about ethics. And really now the PGA golfers are decidedly upset about all of this, because now it seems like the LIV golfers who left PGA for the big paycheck can now just come back. Could just come back. So I don't know. What do you make of first of all, what do you make of the deal? And then is there something here around marketing and branding that sort of I have a take on that, but I'd love to get your take on the deal.
First of all, when I heard about the deal, my friend texted me when it came out and I was shocked. I guess I should have seen this coming, and we'll talk about why. But I didn't expect this to happen with the PGA commissioner coming out and saying, never, ever will LIV players play again. You've made the decision. You are now fully ostracized. We're never going to talk to you again. And then you've had players go at each other, especially on social media, back and forth. And then even when they come together in the major tournaments where they're all allowed to play, there's a lot of animosity going on. Well, you had the loyalty of the PGA folks against the paydays of the LIV golfers that went out there. And who was it? It's Cameron Smith, one of the top golfers that made the move, major championship winner for the PGA, went over to LIV and said flat out, this is life-changing money. He's like, I can't say no to this. I'm going to go and I'll play on the LIV Tour for a year or two, and I'm set the rest of my life. And also because the LIV Tour, that you get a payday every event that you play. You are not cut like in the PGA tournament. If you don't play well the first two times out, you're cut. You don't get any money. That's true with the LIV Tour. Even in the first year, they had something like 405 million for purses. The purses are so huge. And anyways, so this seemingly all came together. I've looked at this thing, and this flat out comes down to money. And what's interesting is apparently, we don't have all of the details yet, as you know, Robert, but the PGA Tour itself will stay a nonprofit, but they will create this separate entity, which is a for-profit version.
That's right.
And the for-profit version will be overseen by basically the LIV Tour, the people who are running the Saudi tour right now.
The Public Investment Fund, as they call it, the PIF, right?
PIF.
Which is basically the giant fund that the Saudi royal family has, that basically it's called the public, but let's be honest, it's for a very specific part of the public. So, yeah.
Well, so I did a little bit of research because, this is what we do on this show. And I tried to figure the PIF, the Public Investment Fund, has $620 billion in it. And I was trying to get a feel for, okay, let's look at the largest companies in the world and what they have cash on hand. And Apple is the company that has the most cash on hand in the world that I can find right now. And that's they have $202 billion. So the PIF has 3 times the amount of cash on hand that Apple does, and that enables them to buy this thing. And I don't know, you've been around nonprofits a lot. There's a number of nonprofits out there who have basically funneled off a for-profit entity because there's an opportunity with a sponsor or multiple sponsors. That's right. So that's what happens. So they're trying to say the PGA will remain intact the way it is, pure, whatever. The LIV golfers will come back. And now you've got this money-making machine with really not a lot of restrictions on it that the PIF is tied to. And is there anything that can't be bought? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah. And make no bones about it, this is move number, 27. It just happens to be the one that has found the widest the widest exposure from the mainstream media right now. But this is not the first move that the royal family has made as an investment into sports entertainment.
Newcastle.
They've bought football teams, and then they've also they've bought sort of entertainment companies. This is truly, so the royal family for a long time has known that they need to pivot out of oil, right? Because oil is going away as a profit center, not only from an economic standpoint of demand, but also literally a supply as well. And so they've got a long horizon on investment, and they're starting to make moves into diversifying their portfolio into other things and entertainment and media. So this is not the first, and it certainly will not be the last. And the real question is from my perspective, I mean, the meme going around, which I absolutely adore, is that this is literally the Michael Scott Paper Company buying, when he got acquired by Dunder Mifflin, right? And that negotiation where Michael Scott's literally saying, my company is worth nothing, but I have tons of names. I can make a new company and a new company and a new company and a new company. And they finally look at him and go, okay, how much do you want? Right. And I mean, that's it, right? They can launch, tomorrow, the Saudi, with 600 billion, by the way, this is a drop. And even if this is hundreds of millions of dollars into the PGA,
this is nothing.
This is a drop in the bucket into their fund. They could tomorrow go launch a competitor to the NBA and do a similar thing. They could theoretically, I think it would be harder, launch a competitor to the NFL, do the same thing. They could launch a competitor to UFC. They could launch a competitor to whatever, that really whatever business they want to go in, they just launch a competitor, throw a lot of money at it, basically throw tons of money at it so that players want to go, get out of that business, and force the hand of whoever it is the dominant player in that space to either then acquire or invest with the royal family. And so it's a fascinating move from a branding perspective in golf. I mean, look, golf is already in a world of hurt. Golf is a declining sport, both in how many young people are playing it, watching it, etc. The PGA has been struggling for years to get viewership up and to get young people interested in playing golf. Maybe they can start to work here and do what you're talking about and turn professional golf into, Ultimate Fighting Championship, where everybody gets paid and there's more things and there's, more different kinds of plans, and sort of get out of the old school PGA. But boy, do I Do I see this going south fast? I could definitely see this thing going south fast.
I don't know. I don't see it going south fast.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I
I
definitely
think
could be wrong. I don't know that much about it.
I think that what this tells me, I mean, in relation to this show, I just see the fact that there's such an imbalance of funding, let's put it that way, from the elites
Right.
of the elites
Right.
company, the elite of the elites company, the Apples, the Microsoft, the Googles. If you go to you type in cash on hand public companies, those companies come up, and you see the amount of money they can go and buy influence anywhere.
Yes,
And
exactly.
there's nothing to stop it unless somebody says no. And they were in a meeting and somebody said, I got 5 billion reasons why you should have this conversation with me. After
right.
the initial response was no, never, no, maybe, I don't know. What do you look at? Yes, absolutely. Let's do this. I mean, that's exactly what happened with that conversation. It's a little scary. This is one thing. It's just a marker in time, if you will. And we'll come back to this in 6 months and we'll see something else happen where a large entertainment or technology company will go ahead and buy something where you'll say, because they're all getting into the conglomerate business.
Oh yeah. I mean, and
we'll talk about Apple in a little bit. Apple's going to have their hands, and already in a lot of cases do, into every piece of the economy, because honestly, they have to. They are an economy in and of themselves. And I love your point about the diversification of for Saudi for the oil away from the Saudis. I mean, it's a smart business decision, and they've been going after sports and entertainment for a while. So
absolutely, yeah. It's and they're, you can argue with the hypocrisy, you can argue with the ethics, you can argue with
this is not a political statement.
Thing.
But
the business aspect of this, the way that they're doing it by creating a competitor, funding it, disrupting the space, and then basically saying, hey, what are we, we're just competing here. If you'd like to be a co-investor with us, we'd love to do it. It forces the hand of the whatever dominant player is in the space. Mark my words, they will buy an NBA team here, not in not too distant future.
Or no. If they were going to do the strategy again, which worked really well, they will create a rival league.
Right. And maybe, yes, there's that as well.
Because they have enough money to say, I mean, it's not LeBron, but 5 other, 10 other.
The structure of NBA, MLB, and NFL are a little different than PGA. So, they're not nonprofits and all of that. So it's a little different, but
it is a little different. But so maybe they just go the traditional route, but they don't have to, because they literally have unlimited funds. They can do whatever they want to do, and it's just interesting how quickly the PGA changed their tune. On this thing and went this direction.
It's amazing.
And I think it will affect a lot of other decisions. I think you're going to see a lot of companies point to this and say, hey, look at that. And maybe we could totally redefine culture and in this area.
We could get in on that too. Yeah.
And why not?
Well, speaking of unlimited funds and getting into the other businesses that have not seemed so great of late, well, here we go with Apple. This week was their Worldwide Developers Conference, and they had a lot to announce. So much got buried, and we won't actually have time to talk about it on the show today. But there was a new OS announced, and there was new hardware announced. But mostly the new hardware announcement centered on the Apple Vision Pro. And the article that we'll cover comes to us courtesy of Ars Technica, where basically it's a first-person reporting of someone who was there and said, this is the best headset demo I've ever seen, but there may be room for improvement. That seems to be sort of the overall consensus by those who were there, is that maybe. It seems to be the headline. Basically, the article opens up by saying, going into the Vision Pro demo at Apple's WWDC conference, I wasn't sure what to expect. The keynote presentation, which showed everything from desktop productivity apps to dinosaurs circling a Vision Pro users in space, seemed impressive, but augmented reality promotional videos often do. They depict the seamless experience in which elements of a digital space merge with the user's actual surroundings completely. And when you do actually put on the headset, though, you'll often find that the promotional video was pure aspiration and reality has some catching up to do. That was my experience with HoloLens and has been that way with consumer AR devices like Nreal too. But basically, that was not my experience, he says, with Vision Pro. To be clear, it wasn't perfect, but it was the first time I've tried an AR demo and thought, yep, that what they showed in the video was pretty much how it really works. The article goes on to then talk about all the details and what you need to do. Stick a battery in your pocket, put it on. This matches a number of the reviews that I saw around the web, which basically said really interesting, good, comfortable, very impressive demo at first. Everybody ouched at the price. The social media world is aflutter with either two sets of opinions. One is basically $3,500 is way too much for this thing, and how dare they, and all, you know, their usual sort of reaction to an Apple price increase. And then the other reaction was, no, just wait. This is the Pro version. If it does well, or if it starts to even get any traction, you'll see the SE version or the consumer version or the lower price version next year. But then you had some who were saying basically, this is no better than what really Facebook has been doing or any of the other headsets. Basically, this is not something that consumers want. And so I wonder where, after watching and seeing and reading all that you've read, Joe, where do you come down on the VR AR headset idea just generally? And then what do you think about Apple?
And you know, I'm a lover of Ready Player One, and
Yes.
reading that and then somewhat watching the movie, but more reading it, I could absolutely believe that we could escape into different worlds and do whatever metaverse. And I think that's Facebook's play, was with the metaverse and gaming and VR. But after reading this article and reading some of the other articles out there, it's obvious that this is a total AR, augmented reality play, and it is different. And that's where hats off to Apple on this, and just didn't say we're going to come out with a competitor to what Facebook is doing, an Oculus or whatever. It's Quest now, right? It's called Quest or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
They said we're going to change the way that people communicate, like we did with the iPhone and the iPod. And I think it sounds like they've done it. And the price tag didn't. I saw the price tag and that seemed right. It's like, this is a luxury product.
Yep.
They're going to test
it
out
on the
luxury
your face,
market.
Basically. It's a whole computer on your face.
And if you look at what it costs to buy an Apple Pro and all the 17 Pro Plus, this, that, and the other, it's right in the middle of the ballpark of everything else that they do. It doesn't have to be for everyone, but I think that's where it's almost like new desktop, new computer device, extension of yourself, use it multiple different ways. I think all it's missing right now is the content to feed into that, and the software and the program, which will absolutely come.
That's the point, right? That's the point of this whole thing, is to inspire developers to start making stuff for it, right? Yeah. I mean, I think the real interesting part to me, and not getting covered very much, I have to say, is the fact that it is both, right? That there is a dial on the side of the headset that allows you to change the opacity of the glasses themselves, so that you can either use it for augmented reality or turn it all the way up where everything goes dark and it becomes a screen for a movie or a video game or something like that. The fact that it's both an AR headset and a VR headset is the most interesting thing to me that nobody's really talking about, which basically says, if you're sort of cynical about it, that Apple is hedging their bets, not knowing which way the real use cases will go. In other words, will it go to gaming, or, you know, they of course, like every VR headset, showed some healthcare medical doctor, you know, doing something virtually and all that kind of stuff. But will it go that way, where you actually use it for, you know, going into VR worlds or playing video games or watching a movie or a television show in sort of the full sense around sound? And then, or will it go the AR way, which is where you either play games or make more useful things about where you look around and you can, you know, see a recipe on the left side of your head while you're making dinner or something like that, which seems a little given the size and the fashion statement that you would simply be making, it seems a little longer in the tooth. But I think it's a fascinating experiment, and I think it's an interesting, and I think it's way too early to tell. I mean, because when the iPhone first came out, I remember when the iPhone very first came out, there were all sorts of cynics saying it doesn't have a keyboard like the BlackBerry.
Yep.
Nobody will ever want to type on the screen. No one will ever use the typing this way. It's the wrong form factor. People can't hold it with two hands. I mean, there was all sorts of things. We just didn't know how to use it yet. We didn't. And then, of course, it became a huge hit. And it was also super expensive back in the day, when the iPhone first came out. So I think it's way too early to tell here on anything having to do with whether or not it'll be successful or not. But I think it'll all come down to whether or not developers can actually make stuff that is compelling. The content will, again, as it always does, the content will drive the expansion of the hardware.
Are you going to purchase one?
Probably not, because I'm not a developer and I don't have any interest in developing any content for that. And so it would be literally a $3,500 toy for me. And I haven't enjoyed the VR experiences that I've had. They're fine. And the AR stuff seems to me to be much more of and I'm not a headset kind of guy. I mean, I hate even wearing these things, to be honest.
So you're talking about earbuds?
My
AirPods?
earbuds, yeah.
You
And
pointed, so people here.
I know. I need to remember that we're on video and both. And audio, but anyway, the idea there being that, I don't think I'll be purchasing, but I absolutely will see this. I give it a better than 60% chance of success. I'll put it that way. I mean, because I just think Apple has thought this through. I think that's one of the things that have thought this through.
It feels, not that Walmart's decision was the best in the world, but I remember when Walmart stayed away from e-commerce for a long time until they felt like they had the right solution. And now they're doing just fine today with online purchases. But I think the same thing is here. They didn't just jump in. There is a lot here. The technology is there. It's very interesting. I think
as well, one of the other things that we should consider is that this may never become a widely used consumer product, right? And it could still be successful. In the early days of Mac computers, remember, their big market was education, right? It was all, where you used a Mac computer was in design schools and other, higher, colleges and those sorts of things, because that was their big market. So it could very well be that this is a more B2B type of device where schools, hospitals, doctors, dentists, people who really will need something like this and can use it for very specific use cases will buy these, and it can become a very, a server-like product rather than sort of a computer-like product.
What did you think of Disney's involvement in the unleashing of
It's funny that you mentioned that, Joe.
Is it?
Was it? I don't know how many messages you got, but I got a few on that. So for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, Bob Iger, who is the current CEO of Disney, was one of the featured guests at the WWC event and talked a lot about the Disney content that could be made available through the Vision Pro, and actually demoed some such, where Mickey Mouse I think it was Mickey Mouse, wasn't it? Made an appearance in the living room, and it looked really cool and interesting in an AR sort of environment. So prompting a gajillion people to reach out, not only through social media, but to actually email and all of that. Yeah. Both Joe and I, to suggest that once again, for the 19 billionth time in the last 10 years, that the two companies could be talking about acquisition. And basically, there was a Twitter thread that we'll link to in the show notes here that really speaks to this, where John Ehrlichman basically had a whole thread about how talking through seeing CEO Bob Iger on stage at Apple's big event was interesting, because he was the connective tissue between Disney and Apple. Was the one who mended fence with Steve Jobs.
He's dressing like Steve Jobs. Look at him on. I mean, people can't see this, but it's uncanny how he's trying to pull off.
Well, he's in his little best sweater vest there and the whole thing.
He looks wonderful. He looks wonderfully happy to be the glue that brings these two amazing brands together.
Anyway, so many people suggested to us that this could definitely signal the idea of Apple's going to acquire Disney. Once again, I think that is nonsense. Joe Pulizzi, let me know why you disagree.
I think now that
at some point we're going to have a steak dinner over this, and I mean, at some point I get to collect. I don't know how long I have to wait. This is a 10-year bet. And I don't know how long I have to wait to collect.
The reason I believe that the reason that Bob Iger came back was specifically to get this deal done. And it's the one thing that he wanted to do, and he didn't do in his first residency as the CEO of Disney. And now
residency.
Now coming back to make good on the vision that he's always had. And I mean, if you put these two companies together, they're both better. That's the difference. It's not like one would take over. If you merge,
I don't think that's true.
I absolutely believe that's true. Yeah. And especially with what you said, I'll use your framework here. You talked about the importance of content in driving this new Vision Pro device. That's and if in the next 5 to 10 years, the Vision or the Vision Pro or Double Vision or whatever you end up calling it is the new product, is the interface for the rest of the world, they're going to need amazing content experiences. And who is better in the world at delivering amazing content experiences than Disney? Probably nobody. So bringing those two together, and I want to mention a couple things. First of all, we mentioned that Apple has over $200 billion of cash on hand, just sitting around doing a bunch of nothing. Wouldn't it be great to put that to work? Disney right now was valued at over $300 billion, is now down to around $170 billion. So they could buy it with couch cushion money.
Well, there's enough. Not quite couch cushion. Yeah, it's not quite couch cushion money.
The point is that the economics could be there. The problem is the regulatory structure of the U.S. right now.
Oh well, that's just the biggest one issue in a list of things, right? I mean,
but that's the biggest issue. Especially, this is not any part of the show here, but the SEC going after Binance and specifically Coinbase, and really laying down hard. And trying to regulate through enforcement is silly in my opinion, but they're doing it, and so the environment for this is not a good one to make this thing happen. So you're going to have to wait until 24, 25 if it eases up at all, which I think we've come to a head with this kind of. I have nothing good to say about Gary Gensler, who's leading the SEC right now, but that's a different discussion. But anyways, that's the biggest obstacle to this thing going. I think the investors of Apple and Disney would both approve this if the numbers were right.
I don't think the investors of Apple would improve this. I think the investors of Disney would be over the moon for this.
Why?
But
why? They've done it before. They bought other brands.
Not at this scale. Not at this scale. The last time Apple made an acquisition of this scale was when? Like ever?
No, there's because there's never been an acquisition of this size anywhere. This would be the biggest acquisition in the history of acquisitions.
I'm not sure that's true.
It would be over $200 billion. Has there been another acquisition larger than that? I don't think so.
Maybe not.
AOL Time Warner, what was that?
Something like that. When I was I think that was 80 or 90, something like that.
So anyways, one of the top 5. It would be huge. It would be huge.
It would be huge. And I just don't think I think it's too unwieldy. I really do. Not unless they stripped out a lot of the business and basically said, we're only going to buy the streaming business, or we're going to buy the content business, or we're going to buy, because I don't think Apple wants the parks. I don't think they want that there's just too much. I just don't think I just don't see
why,
it.
because Apple's not in the entertainment business.
Yeah. Apple
is in the entertainment business.
I don't see it. I still don't see it. I still don't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you go into an Apple store, it is not a fully immersive content experience, and they don't appreciate those types of in-person experiences. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, listen,
All right.
this is a good, since somebody's got to get paid, this is a great place for us to segue to our wonderful sponsor. We have a lovely, wonderful sponsor that is in a meta way, not only something that is sponsoring us, but also what we're using to actually create the sponsor.
We are actually using, I know we're StreamYard has enabled us to actually do this thing seamlessly. The easiest way to create content right in your browser, which we're doing right now. You can multi-stream to your social media platforms, which we do. We stream to LinkedIn and send it over to YouTube, and we could host a show with guests if we wanted to. We could create webinars if we wanted to. we don't want guests.
We don't want to do that, by the way, because so the PR people, please stop sending all of those. Just go watch and see how many guests we've had on this show, and just realize
exactly. And what's great is we record the podcast for audio. We distribute that. We can record it as a video. We can do it in the cloud. We can do it as local recording. It's amazing. I mean, let's put it this way, Robert. I am not the most technologically savvy person.
That is
everyone who listens to this knows that, right? I cannot be more true about this. It did not take me long to figure this whole thing out.
That's right.
So you can do all the live streaming, the webinars, the screen sharing. When we put up the news shows, StreamYard makes it simple to get professional and polished content done every time. Sign up today and get a free trial and lifetime discount through This Old Marketing and The Tilt. And you can do that by going to StreamYard.com/thetilt, StreamYard.com/thetilt. And that is compliments of StreamYard and This Old Marketing and The Tilt. And we are very excited to have them as a sponsor. And so that's been just wonderful the whole way around. So, it's, I think that the best thing for me is the fact that now it goes into one format. I can easily take that and distribute it anywhere we want to. We've got the audio feed. There's not a lot of post-production work. So
and it gives you all those raw files, right? I mean, I can download my audio, I can download your audio, I can download my video, I can download your video, we can download joint video, joint audio. It gives you all those files so that if you wanted to do something later that was just clips or just audio clips or just video clips or even video, without audio, it's all right there for you.
I could take the entire show and remove you.
Well, that's always been the case. That's really
and you could do that with me as well.
That's right.
You might say,
it would be half as long and half as good. But there you go.
It would be, yes. We're definitely better together. So we'll keep it one. But if we ever decided to remove one another, we could do that too. So
we could.
Thank you, StreamYard, for supporting This Old Marketing.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's get back to our stories here. And the last story that we'll cover here under the show before we get to our Q&A section is a quick one that we can talk about because, of course, our good friend Elon. This is not a musky segment, although it would be almost perfect for the wonderful music that we had here. But basically, Elon over the weekend really tweeted out this interesting thing that said, not over the weekend, just a couple of days ago, actually, this platform, unclear what this platform is in his tweet,
I think
would
Twitter
provide email addresses of subscribers who opt in to content creators so the creators are able to leave this platform easily and take their subscribers with them if they want. This, of course, as you might expect with Joe and my common and often ranting about rented land versus owned land, caused a lot of folks to tweet at us, email us. Again, I got so many DMs on this one, just saying basically, hey, what do you think about all of this? My headline, which was the irony of all of this, Joe, was basically I tried to reply to a few of them with some funny GIFs and couldn't because Twitter is so now completely broken that doing a GIF now is almost impossible. It takes literally 15 minutes to upload a simple GIF from their own platform, by the way. I'm not like uploading some separate file. I'm using the GIF button in the tweeting interface to actually do something, and I couldn't get it done. One of them I had to delete. The other one finally did go through after about 20 minutes. Anyway, the whole point being,
tell us how you really feel. Yeah.
Well, I just think this is nonsense. I think that he's not even going to begin to do this because I mean, I was about to say it's unethical, but if he did it ethically, it could only be a going forward thing. In other words, you would
That's
have
true.
to then you would only be able to do it for any new subscribers coming in, because then you could offer them the ability to opt into stuff, or you could do something where you actually add in an option into your user preferences and say, oh, I want to opt into letting my email be visible, which nobody will do. And so basically he would have to do the opposite of what Apple did, which, Apple of course went in and said, basically you're opted out by default, and then you can go opt in if you want to. It would be he'd have to do that. He'd have to actually go in and create something and then basically either opt you in automatically and then you have to go opt out, which would be completely unethical, or he would have to do what Apple did, which is go in and say you can opt into subscribers, which nobody in their right mind will do. And so this is a completely non-starter unless you look at it as a going forward thing where you sort of offer up a product where you can do kind of like what Spotify did with the acquisition of Anchor FM and all of that, where you create a separate product that is somehow integrated that allows you to do content creator like things like create a show or create audio, et cetera, separately in a separate kind of tweet or whatever X is going to be, and then offer up the ability to create a subscription list off of that. So I just think this is, I don't even know why he did this. There must have been something that tweaked him to tweet this out, but for the attention that it would get, but it just seems to me like such a non-starter.
It's his own version of research. Throw it out there, see what happens. Get lots of positive. Everyone loves this. This is great. Elon is the man of the people, according to all the replies you look on the tweet that went out. So there, yeah, I think it's absolutely possible if they decide to do it. You're right about moving forward. You can't go back and say, oh, anybody there. And he's not talking about followers. He's talking about subscribers. To your point, this is be a new thing, a different thing. Your newsletter, your special media feed,
right,
whatever your product is that people can subscribe to. And it's not much different than what Substack does. Substack says the same thing. It's like, hey, well, yeah, you can be part of this community, but if you decide at some point that you want to port your email subscribers out, they had to follow the opt-in process to get there, and then you'd move that out. And if you move that into a different platform, you already have them opted in. Can't spam, GDPR, whatever the case is already appropriate, set. So I don't think it's...
That's an incredibly important distinction to make, my friend, because it is and there's really not a lot of productive use in parsing his words because his words are so sloppily used. But basically, if you do parse the words, he says subscribers, not followers. In other words, it suggests that there will be some way of saying when you go follow someone, you could actually not just follow them, but actually subscribe. So that would be the new feature, theoretically. And basically, by the way, if you look at his tweet, it says subscribe.
Yeah, it absolutely says subscribe. If we look at it right here, boom, it says subscribe, subscribers, creators that want to be on this platform. They want to leave, they can take their subscribers with them. So yeah, I think that
click through to the actual tweet that I'm looking at twitter.com. It's interesting that you don't see it there.
No, I don't.
That's fascinating.
I'm only seeing Elon's tweet right now.
So when I look at Elon's tweet on Twitter, the button does not say follow Elon because I do not follow him. If I click on his profile, I get a follow button, but in that tweet, it actually says subscribe.
Well, I'm also not logged in over here.
Okay.
So that's why you're seeing a different.
Gotcha.
I don't want anybody following me around. I don't.
There you go. There you go. Well,
that's why I use cash when I go out too.
There you go. I'm just telling you, when you go to when you go to that tweet and you're logged in, I'm actually seeing a subscribe button where you would normally see follow.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. We'll see where if you look at what, I guess the thing that made me think of was LinkedIn. So if I have followers on LinkedIn, but I have a smaller set of subscribers, and those subscribers are only set up to get my newsletter, and they get that via email. And you can subscribe and unsubscribe. Now, right now, as far as I know, LinkedIn will not let me port those subscribers out. But take everything. Let's say you took that exact same thing and you move it to Twitter. It's not unprecedented. Be fairly easy to do. You just have to go ahead and check the box, and I opt in to receive this, and you're ready to go. You're good to go.
So by the way, I just clicked through to subscribe to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. We're learning this in real time. I just clicked on subscribe to Elon Musk, and it says I can subscribe to Elon Musk for $4 per month.
Oh.
And I can get bonus content. I get bonus content, and then I get
so you're probably opting in. There's a statement there. There you go.
Well,
so he's already done it. You were putting him down. He already did it.
Here's the thing. So literally as we speak, I'm clicking through to this. As I'm reading this,
this is good radio, by the way.
This is it says subscribe $4 per month. It's a really weird interface. I don't know if I'm subscribing to Elon Musk or if I'm actually subscribing to have the ability, because the features it says is I can get my own public subscriber badge that makes it easier to get notice, chat, and connect. Oh, I see. No. I get it. I am subscribing to Elon Musk, and then I would get a tag under my name that says I'm actually a subscriber
of Elon. Okay.
Of Elon.
Got it. So then as Elon, the creator,
I don't know if this is a available feature or not.
Specific differentiated content going to that group of people who, and you could probably either charge for it or gate it. It's not, when we get to rants and raves, we'll talk a little bit more about it, because there might be something there. So
fantastic.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. Let's quickly get to our wonderful question. We had a great, not really a question, more of a comment for you, really, more than anything else.
Oh yes, let's go ahead and make this happen. And this is from Michelle Peterson Clark. Let's go ahead and play this.
Hey Robert and Joe, it's Michelle here, your favorite content marketing queen. Now, I don't want you to think that I should change my name to Karen, but Joe, I have to tell you, it's Premier League, not Premier League. It's not a movie premiere, it's Premier. So when you're talking about Ted Lasso this week, because Robert will have watched it now, can you please say Premier League? And the other thing is that Josh was listening last week and he said to me, why are they talking about it like it's a real show? Like a real team. And it's really, it's really what's happening in the Premier League, which is really funny. But we love listening and love the show, as you know. Bye.
Well, thank you, Michelle.
Yes.
First of all, Premier, right? Premier, not Premier. Premier.
That's correct.
League.
Yeah,
Premier League.
Yeah.
Look at Michelle. I just figured out offsides. Yeah. So you have to be patient with me. Premier. I'll get it. I'll work on it. Premier League. Now it's also pronounced lasso. It's not lasso.
Lasso.
It's not lasso. It's lasso. Yeah. And to your final comment, it absolutely is a real team. So let's just put the kibosh on that. And that's a lot of, and people in other countries, you may not be aware, Michelle, don't realize that it's actually a thing. Us in America, we all know that it's real.
That's right.
Because why wouldn't it be? And
of course, it's all real.
I have a Nike AFC Richmond hoodie that tells me it's real.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Just like my Savannah Bananas hat. The Savannah Bananas are real.
They would not make it if it weren't real.
Piece of wardrobe that shows this to be true. I don't know if you have any comment. It was really more for me.
It was
Robert
really, it
that
was really
question.
all about
I
you.
think
It was really
I
all
think
about
I
you.
but
I did,
Michelle, thank you.
but yes, but Michelle, I did actually watch the last episode, and I, you know, I would rave all over it. I think it is such. I'm sad to see it go, if only because we so need shows like this right now. We
Feel good
so
shows.
need shows that
Yeah.
are devoid of cynicism and just negativity. And yes, it is saccharine sweet. That show is saccharine sweet, and I don't care. I love it. I loved it for every non sort of controversial moment of it. It was wonderful. I loved every happy making moment of it. So yeah, it's great, and it ended well. I think it ended very poetically.
They did a really good job with the final episode.
They did.
And as you know, Robert, I don't watch a lot of series. I have never watched Game of Thrones. I mean, you name them. For the most part,
Sure.
I've never watched an episodic series except Ted Lasso. I have watched, and I enjoyed every minute of Ted Lasso.
Yes.
So good. I guess I would say, real quick, do you think there's going to be a spinoff? Is there anything?
Almost
Okay.
assuredly. Yes,
Okay.
almost
Well,
assuredly.
who's the character?
If I had to guess, it would be. Unfortunately, I think it might be Keeley, but
I don't know.
Literally,
I
as
think
I'm
it's going to
saying
be
this, I'm not
Roy
sure
or
there would be.
Rebecca. Roy or Rebecca.
Yeah, I'm not sure there would be a spinoff, because I don't think they would make it about the team.
I mean, how
I
many
don't think.
how many times was this discussed about Seinfeld? Is there going?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was
So
crazy.
I think it's going to be the
number
same.
of times.
I think a long term. There's
it may not be.
They're just
Yeah.
going to leave.
Now that I'm
go.
thinking about it, they may not, because it
They're
would
gonna
have to
just
be
gonna
about the
leave it go.
team, and at least the team would have to play a
Yeah.
role there.
So,
all right, let's very quickly get to our rants and rave sections. But before we do that, get on over to thisoldmarketing.site, where, of course, we've got all our show notes. We've got all of the other episodes that you can listen to and now watch on our YouTube channel. So get over to our YouTube channel, as Joe mentioned in the beginning, to actually subscribe to all of that. You can also, at the website, do things like subscribe to The Tilt, which, of course, is Joe's amazing newsletter, where, of course, you can get the wonderful deal on StreamYard. And also, you can join our little Experience Advisors community, which is at experienceadvisors.io, and join us there and get into all the wonderful things that do amazing things for customer experience. And of course, as Michelle did, you can send us voicemail, you can send us a question, you can send us all those things. We love getting those, so please do send us a voicemail.
learned how to play them. It worked. This is fantastic. We will put you on the show, and
put you
at
on
least
the air.
15 people will hear you.
That's right. Exactly.
I promise you.
There's all of that. All right. So now it's time for our rants and rave section, and we'll very quickly go through this here. And I have commentary, but you want to talk about Tucker Carlson?
This
first?
is real quick. Let me throw this up so you can see, because I want to get your feedback on. There he is. Mr. Tucker Carlson.
He always looks so concerned. He's so concerned.
And episode 1 was launched on June 6th. And look I don't know if these numbers are real, but let's just take a second. And by the way, it's first episode. Everyone's curious. Nobody has really done the thing where they left traditional television, if you call it, Fox traditional television, whatever you want to do. They went over. He's going to show his wares on Twitter on the show. It's called Tucker on Twitter. Got a little logo here in the corner. Yeah. And as we record this on the 8th, it has 103.3 million watches. That's fairly impressive. And I know a lot of those are automatic, whatever. But let's just say that the 5% are real. 5 million is amazing for this.
That's better than he was doing on Fox. Yeah.
72,000 comments, 254,000 retweets. And I don't know, Robert, if this is because just first to platform with this idea, but kudos. I'm interested to see if this thing rolls. It was 10 minutes and 27 seconds. He ends the it's a very Tucker-esque 10-minute show. So if you like Tucker, you will love this. He goes in, a little bit of conspiracy, a little bit of they're not telling you anything, the whole thing. And at the end says, hey, as long as Twitter says that this is a platform for everyone to share their views, we are going to stay here on Twitter. I would imagine that he'll get some very juicy sponsorship offers to be part of this and show it in stream. And frankly, as a creator, if you think of him moving as an independent creator, it's fairly exciting to say he was a cog in the machine and he had to go by all these different rules, and now he is outside of that now and can do this from his home, which seems to be in a rustic setting, a barn of some kind,
a cabin in the woods,
a cabin in the woods. It is. Yeah. He should actually change his outfit to look more cabin-esque.
Yeah, so I think. Well, he's got the. I thought are those pool cues behind him? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. There's a pool table back there.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Yeah. If you combine this with what we were just talking about with this subscribe idea, where you could subscribe to this show, and give him an email address and do that.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what we were talking about. 2 months ago, that this could become a viable platform and a real content platform that enables that enables this. I don't know.
But here's the thing. This is different. If you look at, like I say, what is the best platform for creators? Like, where are most of the creators hanging out with? I think that I would say TikTok. I think that a good, strong portion of the people that are on that platform, and they really cater to creators. Twitter is more like the 1%, right? You have some very influential creators, journalists, if you ex-journalists, that are creating a lot of content, and you have most of it is just people watching. If that's the way it's supposed to be, there's probably a business model for creators on that platform as well. It's just a different kind of creator.
100%.
So yeah. Okay, what do you got?
100%. Okay, very quickly here. I'm gonna. So there's an article that I'll reference in the show notes from TechCrunch. And it was basically a Sam Altman as he was talking at an event, and he's basically saying that OpenAI is still not training GPT-5, which they really kind of bury the lead here, because as they say, OpenAI is not training GPT-5 months after the Microsoft-backed startup pledged to not work on the successor to GPT-4 for some time, after many industry executives and academics started to express concerns by the large language models. And as he said, the quote is, "We've got a lot of work to do before we start that model, blah, blah, blah. We're working on the new ideas that we think we need for it, but we're certainly not close for it to start." So, by the way, what's not getting said in that is that once they start training that model, it could take years, right? It could take 18 months, 24 months to actually do the training. So if they haven't even started the training yet, we're at least, I would suspect a year or two away from it being any kind of viability. The lead that I think they buried here in the commentary is that I don't think they're not doing it because of the public pressure or all the concerns and the letters and the 22-word statement that we talked about last week. I don't think they're doing it for any of that. I think they're doing it because they've gotten to the point now where the size of the language model doesn't really matter that much anymore. It doesn't provide sort of exponential benefit. They've gotten to about the size of the language model that really makes sense now, other than incremental improvements to interface, incremental improvements to making it easier to make prompts, incremental increments to safety and sort of tuning the model to basically be a little more conscious of, going rogue, as it were. I think that's kind of it. So it's this, I've been using this analogy of, I think they released all this stuff in such a flurry starting in November through, let's call it March or April of this year, and got to 0 to 80 in 6 months. And I think it's literally going to take, 2 or 3 more years to get to 80 to 81. And even that won't be necessarily AGI, right? Which is the sort of everything, the thing that everybody's afraid of, which is sort of artificial general intelligence. And so I think it's time. This is my commentary, I guess, for lack of a better word, is it's time for us to take a breath. It's time for us to take a collective breath and say, okay, here is where this could be useful. Here's where this is useful. Here's where this will be useful for some time. And here's where it's not useful. quite honestly, and start to really understand how it's going to change the way we work, the way we consume information, the way we change, and not be so breathless about having to get to a place where whatever's next. Because I think the technology development here is going to slow considerably, and that I think that it's a good time for us to take this pause. It's a good time for us to take this idea and say, what will this mean from a regulation standpoint, from a oversight sort of standpoint? And I think it's just, this is sort of, to me, this is the squawking of the canary in the coal mine to say, this is, Altman saying basically, hey, we're not even thinking about this right now. So maybe you should start to take a pause here instead of going, we can't take any action because what's next? What's going to come next tomorrow? And, so instead of using the excuse of the new technology, the new bright, shiny thing as a means of saying, we can't deal with this yet because we need to know what's next. Other words, take that energy and say, no, this is a good time for us to pause and really put some good nuanced thinking into this. That's my comment.
I think that your 80 to 81 comment is true. I mean, I think that will happen. But I think that most, at least in the marketing and content space, everyone is just trying to go in and figure out how this can positively change their business.
Yeah.
I think most people are taking, and then you have some people running around like a chicken with their head cut off.
That's right. And it's a little bit of a barbell, right? You've got the very extremes going, just sort of throwing everything at it. And then you've got others that are going, I know a lot of my clients they're not allowed to use it. They're simply not, they're doing it on their phones and stuff and routing around and playing with it there. Yeah. But for their internal IT departments, they're just not even allowed to use ChatGPT or anything like it because of the fear of copyright, the fear of safety, the fear of proprietary information getting out, all of those kinds of things.
I've been using it as a gut check, and it's fairly like, read this. Does this sound right? And I actually talk to it like it's my little assistant. Hey, here's something I wrote. Can you just check this over and let me know what you think?
I've been using one of the paid tools that are out there. I won't say which one, but I've been using, and it's been really lovely. It's been great. It's been a great help because it'll do things like, actually, I can send it URLs and say, give me a summary of this URL, give me a summary of this article, and send it, all sorts of URLs and have it do things for me, and then save those things. And it's nice, and it's not expensive. So
why don't you talk to that company and say that you will, and if they sponsor this old marketing, that you will say who it is. Why don't you do that?
Probably should.
By the way, since this is a very long episode, we keep getting, I don't know if our listeners are just tuning out by the hour mark, or they're, I don't know. This is new. We've never done a show this long.
It's the video. I think the video is sort of throwing us off a little bit, and so normally we would be a little tighter on this stuff, but we'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get it.
Okay, our show is going to be, we're going to go into Joe Rogan like 2 hours and 30 minutes. Sometimes these shows.
Oh, that's no good. Yeah, nobody needs that in their life.
Nobody said we need a longer This Old Marketing show.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you got this week?
A couple graduation parties, more beautiful weather in Cleveland, Ohio. There's somebody's birthday today, so we're going out and celebrating that tonight. So not my birthday.
Okay.
Somebody else in this house's birthday. But yeah, so we're just, this is this time of year. This is why people live in Cleveland. All the other times they're like, get out. They want to go somewhere else. But this is real. The weather we've had for the last 5 weeks, it's been 75 and perfect. And it's been lovely. So we've been kayaking, been doing all kinds of stuff. How about you?
Nice. We're again with the weather. Yeah, we're having a lovely spring, early summer as well. It's normally hot here by this time of year, and it's not been hot at all. So we're in the high 60s and early low 70s. So it's been a lovely way to get outside. So that's been fun. And then client work, all the stuff, hashtag all the things. Working on a couple of new classes for a big new course that I'm creating.
When does your book come out?
Book comes out in September, and I've been reading through the galleys and doing the proofing.
I can tell you right now, it's going to be a very exciting release. I've gotten an early look at it, and I must say,
yes, thank you very much for your wonderful, kind words. Yes, I've been getting some blurbs on it, and so that's been lovely. So working on a little bit of that as well, and generally just living the dream, as it were.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. We really appreciate you watching, listening. however you're consuming our wonderful show. And of course, get on over there and let us know what you think and all those kinds of things. Leave us a voicemail. And until we see you next week, just remember, everybody, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing.